You know what the most terrifying realization is? It's not that life is meaningless. It's that you've been the executioner of your own meaning all along. And you've been doing it with a smile on your face, telling yourself it's someone else's fault. Right now, as you watch this, you're probably hoping I'm going to give you some comfortable lie about how the world is broken, and you're just an innocent victim caught in the machinery. You want me to tell you that if only the politicians were better, if only society were different, if only other people would change, then you'd finally feel that sense of purpose you're desperately craving. But here's the truth that's going to make you want to click away. The system isn't broken. You are the system. And every single day, with every choice you make, every excuse you accept, every time you choose comfort over truth, you're voting for the very meaninglessness you claim to despise. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this coming over a century ago. He looked into the abyss of human nature and saw something that most people still refuse to acknowledge. We are not the rational, moral creatures we pretend to be. We are driven by forces we don't understand, serving masters we refuse to name, and the greatest tragedy is that we call this slavery freedom. Let me hold up a mirror for you, and I want you to really look at what's reflected back. When you say life feels pointless, what you're really saying is that you've outsourced your meaning to things that were never designed to provide it. You've handed over the steering wheel of your existence to your boss, your social media feed, your political party, your family's expectations, and then you act surprised when you end up somewhere you never wanted to go. Nietzsche called this the herd mentality. And before you get defensive and insist you're not like everyone else, ask yourself this: when was the last time you made a truly original choice? Not a choice between pre-approved options that society laid out for you, but a choice that came from your own deep understanding of who you are and what you value. Can't remember, can you? Here's what Nietzsche understood that most people refuse to face. We don't lose our way because we're victims of circumstance. We lose our way because creating our own meaning is terrifying, and it's so much easier to let others do it for us. It's easier to complain about the meaninglessness of modern life than to take responsibility for creating meaning ourselves. You scroll through social media feeling empty, but you keep scrolling. You hate your job, but you don't quit. You complain about shallow relationships, but you don't cultivate deeper ones. You feel disconnected from purpose, but you don't do the hard work of discovering what truly matters to you. Why? Because deep down, you're more afraid of freedom than you are of emptiness. Let me show you how your own mind conspires against you, using the very psychological mechanisms that were supposed to protect you. Nietzsche talked about this as the will to power, but not power over others. Power over yourself, power to create your own values, power to become who you truly are. Instead, most people use their will to power to give their power away. Watch how this works. You seek out information that confirms you're powerless. You read articles about how the economy is rigged, how the system is broken, how your generation got screwed. And yes, there's truth in some of that. But notice how you never seek out stories of people who overcame similar circumstances. Why? Because if they can do it, then you might have to try. And trying means risking failure. And failure means confronting the possibility that you've been lying to yourself about why you're stuck. You see the qualities you hate about yourself reflected in others. You rage about politicians being corrupt while you lie to yourself about your own motivations. You despise people who sell out while you sell out your own dreams every single day for the illusion of security. You mock people for being shallow while you refuse to go deep into your own psyche because you're terrified of what you might find there. This is the masterpiece. You create elaborate intellectual justifications for your emotional cowardice. I'm not avoiding my dreams. I'm being realistic. I'm not settling. I'm being responsible. I'm not giving up. I'm being strategic. Nietzsche called this the will to truth, corrupted into the will to comfortable lies. But here's where it gets really ugly: herd mentality. You don't just accept these lies for yourself, you enforce them on others. When someone around you starts breaking free, starts creating their own meaning, starts taking real risks to become who they truly are, what do? You try to pull them back down. Don't get your hopes up. Be realistic. What if it doesn't work out? You become the crab in the bucket, and you do it because their courage makes your cowardice visible. Here's the part that's going to make you really uncomfortable: the system you think is broken. It's working exactly as designed, and it's designed to exploit every single psychological weakness I just described. The modern world doesn't accidentally create meaninglessness, it manufactures it. Because meaningless people are profitable people. People without inner direction are easy to direct from the outside. People who don't know who they are will pay anything to be told who they should be. Think about it. Every institution that promises to give you meaning requires you to give up your power to create it yourself. The consumer culture doesn't want you to find satisfaction in who you are, it wants you to find satisfaction in what you buy. The political system doesn't want you to take responsibility for your own life. It wants you to vote for someone else to take responsibility for you. The entertainment industry doesn't want you to create your own stories. It wants you to live vicariously through the stories it sells you. Nietzsche saw this coming with his concept of the last man, a person so comfortable in their mediocrity that they've lost the ability to even conceive of greatness. The last man doesn't suffer dramatically, they just exist. They blink slowly at the world and ask, what is love? What is a star? Not from curiosity, but from the dull incomprehension of someone who has forgotten what it means to value anything deeply. Sound familiar? The most insidious part is that this system makes you complicit in your own exploitation. It doesn't force you to be meaningless, it just makes meaninglessness the path of least resistance. It doesn't prevent you from creating your own values, it just makes sure that everywhere you look, pre-packaged values are cheaper and easier to obtain, and you choose the easy path every single time. Here's a question that's going to cut deep. Why do good people keep losing to bad people? Why does it seem like the most moral, conscious, caring individuals are often the least successful, while ruthless, selfish people seem to get everything they want? The answer reveals something ugly about human psychology that most people refuse to acknowledge. We don't actually want what we say we want. We want what makes us feel safe, comfortable, and part of the group. And those desires often conflict directly with our stated values. You say you want authentic relationships, but you choose people who don't challenge you. You say you want meaningful work, but you choose jobs that pay well and require minimal risk. You say you want to make a difference in the world, but you choose activities that make you feel good about yourself, rather than activities that actually create change. This is what Nietzsche meant when he talked about slave morality, not that helping others is bad, but that using morality as an excuse for inaction is a form of spiritual slavery. You get to feel superior to the bad people while never having to take the risks that real change requires. The bad people win because they're honest about their desires. They want power, money, status, and they go after those things directly. Meanwhile, you tell yourself you're above such base motivations while secretly resenting that you don't have what they have. You've moralized your fear of risk into a virtue, and then you wonder why your life lacks the very things you claim not to want. Do you see how this works? You've created a psychological prison where taking action makes you bad and staying passive makes you good. You've convinced yourself that wanting things is shallow, that ambition is corrupt, that power is evil. Let me go deeper into the forces that actually drive your choices, the ones you don't want to admit to yourself. Not just fear of failure, but fear of success. Fear of what you might become if you actually pursued what you wanted. Fear of outgrowing the people around you. Fear of discovering that you're capable of more than you've been pretending. The belief that you're fundamentally flawed, that you don't deserve better than what you have. This shame masquerades as humility, but it's actually the most arrogant thing of all, the assumption that you're so uniquely broken that the rules that apply to others don't apply to you. The addiction to a past that never existed, or to a future that will never come. You live everywhere except in the present moment, where your actual power exists. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time, but the right time is always now. And now is always not good enough. This is the big one. Nietzsche called it the will to power turned inside out. Instead of seeking to become who you truly are, you seek to become who others want you to be. You've made your self-worth dependent on external validation, which means you can never actually validate yourself. Here's what this looks like in practice. You stay in relationships that don't fulfill you because leaving might hurt someone's feelings. You keep jobs you hate because quitting might disappoint your parents. You don't pursue your creative interests because what if people think you're not good enough? You've made everyone else's opinion more important than your own experience. And then you wonder why you feel disconnected from your own life. Nietzsche said, "The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe." This isn't just about social pressure, it's about the psychological pressure to conform to expectations that were never yours to begin with. Every single day, there's a battle happening in your consciousness between who you truly are and who you think you're supposed to be. And every single day, you choose the comfortable lie over the difficult truth. You tell yourself you're being responsible when you're actually being cowardly. You tell yourself you're being realistic when you're actually being pessimistic. You tell yourself you're being selfless when you're actually avoiding the responsibility of taking care of yourself first. This is the battlefield where your meaning gets lost, not in some grand external struggle, but in the thousands of tiny surrenders you make to avoid facing who you really are. And the most tragic part, you're not even fighting against real enemies. You're fighting against shadows, against imaginary judgments, against scenarios that exist only in your mind. You're letting your life be dictated by people who aren't even paying attention to you, by standards that were created by people who are just as lost as you are. So here's my challenge to you, and this is where everything I've said either becomes real or becomes just another form of entertainment. Stop consuming this content and start creating your own life. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission and start giving it to yourself. Stop looking for your purpose in other people's definitions and start creating your own definition of what matters. The life you're living right now is the result of every choice you've made up to this point. If you don't like it, make different choices. If you feel stuck, acknowledge that you've chosen to stay stuck because the alternative felt too risky. If you feel meaningless, take responsibility for creating meaning instead of waiting for it to find you. This isn't motivational speaking, this is philosophical surgery. I'm not trying to make you feel better about your circumstances. I'm trying to make you uncomfortable enough with your current choices that you finally choose differently, because the truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've always known. The voice that tells you what you really want, what you really value, what you really believe, it's been there all along. You've just been drowning it out with everyone else's voices because listening to it would require you to change, and change is terrifying. But you know what's more terrifying? Reaching the end of your life and realizing that you never actually lived it. That you spent decades being a supporting character in your own story. That you had everything you needed to create meaning and purpose and fulfillment, but you were too afraid to use it. Nietzsche ended his career by going mad. Some say it was from staring too long into the abyss of human consciousness. But maybe he went mad from seeing so clearly what humans could become if they just had the courage to stop being what they think they should be. Don't wait until you're on your deathbed to realize that the person you were meant to be has been waiting inside you all along, suffocated by the person you thought you were supposed to be. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. The question is, what are you going to do with it?